Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Terra's ribbon, magical circlet, and some of the other pieces of gear that you can equip on your mage characters. A lot of people have been asking questions about these pieces of gear to me, and they don't necessarily have a very easy answer, so we're going to dig into the numbers, talk about it, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have an idea of whether or not these pieces of gear are useful. Let's go ahead and dig in. So you can see in the background, I prepared some information and some slides, but first we're gonna go ahead and check out WoTV real quick, and I'm just gonna show the pieces of gear that we're gonna be talking about. Specifically, we're gonna be talking about Terra's ribbon right now, which recently came out with Trials of Reckoning. It's gonna have like 16 spirit, it could have up to 7 accuracy, 12 crit, but the big thing we're really talking about is the man eater on it, right? So at the +5 version, it does give 15 man eater, and then we're also comparing it a lot to Magical String, which is Salire's TMR, and a lot of people are asking the question, why would I ever build Terra's ribbon if I have access to Magical String? Because Magical String innately increases man eater by 20 when attacking with magic attacks for self. So with TMR augmentation, people are like, well, maybe I'll just build this instead. And personally, I'm kind of the mind that both of them are terrible, but really it's just kind of splitting hairs at a certain point. And we'll talk about the numbers and we'll kind of show you guys the math here. But really, when I think about, what type of gear I want on my mages, I almost always think about like silver rimmed spectacles, right? Because no matter what, with Terra's ribbon or with Magical String, you're either going to be losing out on spectacles with like incredible accuracy and spirit penetration. You're potentially missing out on Soul Thalmassa, which is upwards of +60 magic. Keep that +60 magic in mind because it's going to come back later. 8% magic resistance, 10 magic resistance penetration. Or in the case of Magical String, you're giving up some of the best pieces of gear in the game, like Black Rose Helena's TMR or the Zombie Mask. You're giving up your actual TMR abilities to get this 15% man eater, or this 20% man eater. So we're gonna take a second here and we're gonna talk about what you're sacrificing, right? And there may be certain situations, certain builds where, maybe all you care about is maximizing your damage. You're not gonna use TMR abilities, but just full frontal on you guys here right now. Most of the time you're going to want your TMR abilities. So let's go ahead and take a look at the math. Now, a lot of people may not be familiar with how modifiers work. So essentially how modifiers work is, a modifier would be considered plus wind attack, plus slash attack, plus magic attack. It would be like plus 35 slash attack from a VC. It would be like this attack when you're on WoTV and it says it's a 200% modifier attack. That's a direct modifier, right? When you have mastery abilities that give plus 15 of a specific element, that's a modifier. So what I've done here is I've just put up a very basic modifier. We're talking, most people are going to have substantially higher modifiers than this, upwards of potentially 500 to 600% modifiers, because I didn't even include double VCs. I didn't even include, I'm literally just assuming the bare minimum here. And that's important to keep in mind as we're going through this video. But taking a look at this, you can see we're assuming it's a 200% mod attack. We're getting plus 45% modifier from mastery. So each member in my party would be of the same element, right? So if I'm using Terra, I have 2 other fire elements. So I'm going to be getting a plus 45%, fire attack bonus. I'm assuming that I'm getting 105% modifiers from VCs. So that's assuming only 3 times plus 35 modifiers. So this would be like Scions with light attack plus. This would be like Trousseau with plus 35 magic attack, or slash attack plus 35, right? And if you consider that's, only 3 of those VCs with plus 35 mods, that's, compared to what we can actually get with double VCs, this is a pretty low number here to put. And I just wanted to assume the bare minimum for, competency and for, discussion, because I think it's important to understand that the case that I'm going to be making, it only gets worse the more modifiers you have. Plus 40% from Espers. You can easily get plus 50 to 55 if you have the right Esper mods on, plus 15% from a weapon, so that would be like slash attack plus 15. That's assuming only plus 15. It could of course be, you know, plus 45 if it's an elemental weapon, because you have plus 30, you know, ice attack, plus 15 slash attack. It could easily be plus 20 if it's like, you know, purple lightning, where it's a UR weapon and it has plus 20 modifier on it. So very easy to kind of lowball here. And then of course, a lot of people forget that we have elemental mastery as well. So we do get 6% for that. And we're putting a total mod of this attack at 411% total. So what's the relevance of this? Well, when you factor in Maneater, right? Maneater from Magical String or from Terra's Ribbon, you have to factor in the mod, and you're basically adding a 20% mod, right? And a lot of people don't understand what adding a 20% mod does, right? Or what adding a 15% mod does. Because a lot of people will think, oh yeah, it's gonna, you know, increase my damage 20%. It's gonna increase my damage 15%. It's actually not. In this case, with the 411% mod, right, running Magical String, you'd basically see a 4.8% total damage increase, which is okay. It's actually pretty high, but you have to keep in mind what you're sacrificing, right? You're sacrificing no buffs, right? You're not gonna have any TMR buffs. You're not gonna have the agility from a TMR, right? Because of course, Magical String has no agility on it. You're not going to have potentially any accuracy from a TMR, or potentially, you know, maybe you want to set something else besides Alexandrite Ring in your accessory slot. Maybe you need status ailment resistance, right? And you need a weapon. So, you know, you're going to have your weapon in one hand, you're going to have your status resistance, and then you're going to have Magical String. So you could potentially lose quite a lot for just a 4.8% total damage increase, right? Then we look at Terra's Ribbon. It's a 15% mod, which will end up being about 3.6% total damage increase. The benefits of this, of course, is that you get the TMR buff. You're more than likely, if you're setting Black Rose Helena's TMR, getting +5 agility. The big drawback, though, is you are also basically taking up the slot of an accessory, right? So you're not going to have Alexandrite Ring. You're not going to have potentially Spirit Penetration from the Spectacles and the accuracy from the Spectacles. And you're not going to get maybe that additional plus 10% magic from Galmia Cloak. So this kind of left me off on a note here, this 10% magic here, because almost none of these situations are optimal. I would say, you know, anyone looking at this can probably say, you know, if you're playing in PvP, if you're playing in PvE, you're probably going to be running Spectacles instead of either of these pieces of gear. I think universally investing in Magic String is just a really bad idea. But it got me thinking about Galmia Cloak, and I just wanted to do and discuss real quick base magic, because I think it's important to understand here how base magic functions and what the percentages are, because Terra's base magic is going to be 366. So if you're running Galmia Cloak and you already have your plus 20% magic from your TMR augmentation, you're going to be getting plus 36.6 magic from Galmia Cloak. Assuming her magic is 1,000 or around 1,300, this is without any plus magic buffs in the party. So if you have plus magic buffs, it'll be more like 1,400. It's only going to be a 2.7% damage increase. So things to keep in mind here, right? Now, Soul of Thalmassa, on the other hand, right? Remember, we talked about that just briefly. Soul of Thalmassa is going to give plus 60 magic, right? Assuming you only have 2 sources of plus magic in your equipment, yeah? So that would almost be the same buff as having the Magical String equipped. So you could almost bypass all of this and just forget everything in here by equipping Soul of Thalmassa. If you're wanting to increase your raw damage output. That's kind of what I basically took away as I was kind of going through everything here. You know, the big thing to keep in mind is 411% modifier is very low. Most of the time you're going to have a higher modifier than this, especially in PvE, where you're going to have 5 units in the party. You know, 1200 magic is not even the highest magic Terra can hit. With 1 plus 50% magic, she's at about 1500. So, I mean, plus 60 magic, still a reasonable damage increase. But like, it's just one of those things where like, Magical String is never going to be viable. If you're wanting like no accuracy, no agility, just straight up damage, absolutely, this is going to be great. Terra's Ribbon, It's okay. It's a nice compromise. It's good when you need to increase damage on your unit, but you're likely going to get a very similar modifier if you set Soul of Dalmasa. And candidly, in the world that we're in, you need accuracy. Unless you have a 100% hit attack, it's not going to matter what you have set in your accessory slot, because you're not going to be able to hit. And this isn't even considering, you know, that you may need status resistance set in that slot. And with the dominance of agility and PvP content right now, the fact that Elena's and Locks and all these other units are lapping players, if you're running a mage, you are going to want that +5 agility. I think the one big thing I really took away from all this was Galmia Cloak though, and how little of an impact, particularly with TMR Rune Augmentation, Galmia Cloak has now. I think, you know, considering that this magic could get even higher and this damage increase would be even less, I think we're at a point now where Soul of Dalmasa probably going to be the way to go, unless you need to set Alexandrite Ring. I think those are kind of the two magical accessories that, or spectacles, sorry. I kind of combine Alexandrite Ring and spectacles into the same thing in my head, but unless you need accuracy, unless you need, you know, if you need accuracy, go spectacles, Alexandrite Ring. If you need damage, just go Soul of Dalmasa. It just makes sense. Enemies are going to have magic resistance. You need that magic resistance penetration. You're going to get plus magic from it. You're going to get magic attack resistance from it. It's just going to work all around. Anyway, everybody, I hope this video made sense to you. I hope this is the type of video you guys wanted. It's been a while since I've talked about mods and done these types of number crunching, but just remember, you know, these mods, you can go significantly higher with these mods, and it's just gonna make Magical String and Terra's Ribbon even less useful. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.